Materials for teaching grammar. So this my report is all about the materials for teaching grammar. The materials for teaching grammar are commonly used by the mediated technology or application in any mobile or desktop as modern academic references, especially for teaching grammar. Number 1 is the T-Plot application. This is the most common application for learning grammars in English. Video tutorial. Next is the video tutorial. This is widely used, especially for entertaining purposes. While learning, it was recommended by the TESOL professional. So, this video tutorial is commonly used in the English foreign classes. So, they use YouTube's or any media platform or video platform to watch this video tutorial about English grammars. Number 3 is online testing grammar. This is a for any beginners to learn grammar easily with a guide and correction for any grammar errors for the learners. So this is widely used for the beginners or the student if they want to expand their knowledge about the grammar, or they want to self-study on themselves in order to learn about the English grammars while surfing the internet. Teaching grammar in the classroom. Traditionally, material used in the teaching grammar have been the specific purpose of providing grammar practice. Language drills used by the audiolingual method, for example, which structured in such a way so as to encourage the automatic learning. So, as mentioned in the first slide, they use audiolingual method such as YouTube video tutorial or else the T-Plot application. This is considered the most practical or most expertise to use in studying English grammar. Materials were used to pattern student language behavior through paper, plan, drill, and practice. In the communicative approach, grammar activities tend to focus on interaction and reflect a social dimension. Materials used in this approach contain conversation and contextualized situation which focus on the message rather than the grammatical form. The kind of materials used in the teaching of learning grammar has much to do with how one believes language is learned. For the language, much to do how one's belief for the language teacher is important to consider the pedagogical relevance of some of this language learning and acquisition of theories. The development of effective materials for teaching and learning grammar require a careful analysis of these theories. This article begins by discussing the relevance of theories of language learning in classroom. The second section of the article briefly surveys some of the more classic approaches in teaching grammar. Finally, several general guidelines are provided in developing appropriate materials for the teaching of grammar in the English language classroom. Generalized techniques for teaching grammar. The different models of language teaching provide useful insight into how the best to present grammar in a language teaching. It is very likely that the teaching of grammar often requires an eclectic approach employing different techniques derived from the various teaching models rather than the use of a single fixed method. For this reason, it may be useful to provide some general suggestions for teaching of grammar in the second language classroom. Number 1 is comprehension focus. This is the first strategy to use by the teacher. So the teacher must try to focus learner attention on noticing, understanding specific grammatical features in the input rather than emphasizing student production of the target language through tasks such as drills. So the teachers must be focused on their learners' mental capacity, or they will be focused on observing their right needs for learning grammars. In short, they need to interact with the other student and able to find out what will be the problem in their learning grammar process inside the classroom. So the next one is enhance input. While focus on comprehension can provide a generalized framework in teaching grammar, the student need to also notice targeted grammatical structures. So teachers must focus on the comprehension, provide a general framework in teaching grammar. So After comprehension focus, teachers should be noticed to their student for learning make the grammar structure easily understands for the student. So teacher will be input the possible learning processes on their students' knowledge in grammar in order to enhance their grammar knowledge. Next is the meaningful input. Meaningful input is it is important for learners to engage the structure cognitively. What enhanced input may ensure take place. So according to this slide, the learners must have a good exemplar in order for them to have a better knowledge for learning grammar. So they need to they need a guide by the teachers in order to them to learn the language easily. Next slide is contextualized input. Contextualized input. As many teachers are quite familiar with contextualization by the use of connected discourse and reading text. However, there's a tendency to assume that the job is contextualizing structure is completed if there is some form of context such as reading passage or dialogue. So, in this slide, most of the teachers are always provided a good references such as accurate reading English text or a wide learner module for grammar studies. So they provide English books that are most having a most good English grammatical function or correct grammar use. Requires student a processing of target structure. In teaching grammar in English classroom, it is important that the focus on grammar comprehension instead or in addition to the message comprehension. Teachers must attempt to ensure that the target grammatical structure message content. To ensure that the grammatical structure is not lost in the student understanding message content. The following common fill in the blank activity for grammar learning. This is the example of grammar learning functional. The student should be construct a correct grammar. Like the example on this, fill in the blank using should and need. The student will be use should and need in order to reconstruct the proper grammar in the underlined words. Number 1. You need do. You should do as you are told. That is the example for constructing simple construction grammar on this activity. It's the most common drills of the English teacher to their student. The processing involved in completing this task may not require the student to focus on the target, structure, and understand how it should be used. Rather, the task can be completed by simply filling every blank that precedes to a word need and every other blank with the word should. Teachers must be also aware that the student also have certain tendency when processing language input in order to develop effective classroom teaching materials. Whether these tendencies are innate or the result of years of social interaction is irrelevant in this discussion. Instead, what is important for materials developers to consider are research findings that indicate how learners process the language. It has been suggested the example that students will tend to gloss over inflections that carry meaning when they are redundant when the same meaning is conveyed by a free morpheme. Example, the past tense is ed or ed, ed, or it's a widely common use in English past tense. They use ed. Form will not be so quickly acquired when other indicators of the past time, such as just now or yesterday, is present in the input. In such a situation, the ed inflection will lack silence And the tendency will be for most learners to overlook the inflection in favor of the more obvious pre-morpheme that conveys the verse, the meaning content. Many teachers will be familiar with the incorrect student utterances, such as "I walked to school just now." By understanding processing strategies, it may be possible to develop materials that will be able to provide a greater silence to targeted structure. Reflection. Knowledge about grammar should be seen as a means towards successful communication. So, according to Rhea Dickens and Woods, they believe that the grammar task should be promote of awareness of grammatical choice. So as well the capacity to make appropriate choosing according to the given contextual constraints, page 636. So according to this reflection, the student must be able to learn language, but not in the easy way, but they can easily understand grammar if they teach easily. Teach them with correct purposes of references, such as the modern use of test in the mobile phones. Also, they will like to use a template application in order to build them to have a good English grammar using in a conversational method, or observing them surroundings. The following activity taken from my internet website teaches the difference between borrow and lend. So this is the example of simple grammar studies in the internet, as mentioned in the first slide of this teaching materials. This is the third one of teaching materials. This is the example: borrow and lend. Variety of eclecticism. When we teach grammar structure, we need to take the processing demand of the structure into account. Grammatical structure, however, differ one from the other in terms of the kind of processing required. Preposition, for example, may require comprehending space in the relation of three-dimensional objects. Relative pronouns, on the other hand, require sensitivity to pronoun reference within a sentence, such as different techniques in teaching may be especially effective for different structure. Some research have indicated that learner may benefit from explicit rule teaching with the grammatical structure. Concerning the early example of straightforward similarity to the age of the learner, may also determine the type of approach should be taken. So thank you for listening for my report. So this is Jerome. Thank you for listening.